guys, welcome along to the channel. Here we go. It's part 8D, is it? The cockpit. Still working on the cockpit here, and today we're concentrating on getting this airscale stuff all done. So what I've done, because I need to do this through a glass, I've done this off camera. But what I do, I've put the front of the instrument panel onto the backing, and I'm just going around getting some super glue and just dabbing it on, holding it together, dab it on, hold it together, dab it on, and then once it's all glued, I go all the way around the edge with some super glue, let it go hard, and it seals the edge in. And then what you can do is sand it, staying on along the line of the photo etch, and you can just sand it so you get everything nice and flush. Okay, and then when you actually come and touch it up with some paint, what you will see is you get a panel that looks like a panel rather than a lamination of photo etch and acetate. So that's all you do, is just rub it around the edge. Now you don't need to watch me do this, so I'm going to come off camera, do this in my optivisor or through my magnifier, and then I'll come back and we'll get some painting done. Okay, so I've gone around the edge of those now with glue, rubbed them down, and then gone around the edge with glue again just to sort of smooth it all out. And now I've put some Vallejo seal liquid mask into the apertures where the gauges are, because I'm going to have to paint them again, because as you can see we've got some tatty edges, and I also got some super glue over the bottom there as well. So I want to just sort of basically spray them in again with a semi-gloss and get the sort of semi-gloss finish against this flat background. It just adds a bit more interest to the cockpit. So while they're drying, I've also assembled these. These are parts 15 and 16, and they are the center ammo counter for this part. Now, in the kit set, in the airscale set, it said this part is optional, reflects the layout seen in most F6Fs where heating and gun controls are placed. And I think basically what it is the F6F-5 had rockets, and this is the rocket control panel here. The actual photo etch part is here, and you can see the difference there. There is no rocket control panel. So basically I've decided on this one I'm not going to use that. I'm going to stay with the plastic, because this one is loaded out as having rockets. Now my FAA one isn't having rockets. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know, but it's not having rockets, so I'll probably use that on that one. If somebody comes on here and categorically tells me that the FAA one should have rockets, I'll put them on there, but I'm not sure if it would have had the American rockets. Even if it did, it probably would have had the English ones. So now I'm going to start looking at decals. Now we've got some choices here. Airfix give us a massive decal sheet, and all across the top you can see there's all gauges and stencils and all sorts of stuff, and a lot of this is for the cockpit. So when you actually look at the instructions here on the back page of the booklet, basically they've got all these instructions laid out. Now all the decals laid out, telling you where they all should go. Now all of this is the cockpit, other than there, which is the gun bay doors. So what I've done, I've gone through and looked at what is in the Airfix decal sheet and what is in the airscale decal sheet. Now I've decided I want to use the airscale decals because I like them. They're very thin, they go down nicely, and they're slightly different. They're slightly less kind of, if I can show you. You see, these here are sort of a bit of a faded red, and these are a bit more in your face, and the writing is a bit more defined, if you know what I mean. So I've decided I'm going to use these where I can. So what I've done, I've gone round and basically crossed off where I'm not going to use the Airfix decals. Now obviously for the rocket control panel here, I need 35 and 36, which are here, which you can't even see because they're white. And then you've also got these two here on the back of the seat mount. So obviously they need to go on there as well. They're not in the actual airscale decal set at all. So I've basically gone around and ticked. Now these two here, they go on the actual ridge there on the rail on the side of the cockpit. Now I'm not going to put those on yet in case I decide to go in here and do any filler work and touch up and that, so I won't put those on yet. I'll leave those till the end. And obviously I'm not doing this seat base at the moment. Now I've just noticed here we've got some decals there that go on, and yeah, the airscale set doesn't have that one, number 4, so I'm going to add that one. It also doesn't have number 3 by the look of it. Yeah, so number 4 and number 3, I'm going to tick those off because we're going to use those. but all the rest are just gauges which obviously we've already got on the instrument panel itself. But yeah, we've got to put the instrument panel onto this backing here, which is what's shown there. Now this here is represented with a decal. Now with a photo etch plate, so that's, we're not going to be putting anything on there. But here there's no decal in the airscale set for that, so that decal number 4 is going to basically go onto there, which is basically those two dials upside down, if you like. So I'll get some water sorted and we'll start looking at these. Alright, so I've got some decals cut off now, and I'm going to start with this one here, number 4, which is going to go down onto the top of this side console here. So I'll make sure it's, when it's ready to go, I'll slide on. I've removed, remember I put some masking in there. I've removed the masking so that just in case the decal goes over the masking, and then I wouldn't be able to get it off, or I might find that when I try and remove it, it rips the decal off with it. So basically what I've done here is taken the masking off, and then I'll put some back in there before I flat coat it all afterwards. So is that, yeah, that's sliding about now. So now I can basically take this, get a drop of microset, which is my chosen solution, and then I'm going to slide this onto this part. Oops, I got myself stuck here. So we can slide that on there, just like so. And then using a cocktail stick, I'll wet the end of it, and I can just position this then. But I'll use a brush. The one thing you will notice with these airscale decals is they go down and they stick straight away. So I'm going to get plenty of water under this one, so that it'll slide. Be careful it doesn't wrinkle back on itself like it's doing there. Yeah, I fear this is because it's so warm. Everything's just drying so fast. There we go. At least we've got it flat again. Right, start again. So we can position it. There we go. If I use my finger, it's performing perfectly. Look under my magnifier. And there we go, it's in position now. I have to go to a magnifier because I need to see where the precise holes and everything are, and just make sure that everything's in the right place. So there we go, that's all done. So I'll leave that one there to go now. I've put some more microset on top of it, and then I'll put some microsol on afterwards. And let's have a look at these Airfix decals. Now these are the two that go either side of the seat here on the rear bulkhead. So put these down here and have a look. And these are number 29 from the kit, and they are literally white. And I'm hoping they're going to be okay, because I don't know if you can see on there, but there's some scratches on my decal sheet, and they go right through the left-hand decal. So I'll just leave them there, and I'm going to put my. So it looks like they're actually going just here. So they're going just in here. So I got some microset. Drop in there, drop in there. A bit too much, but never mind, it just dries out in this temperature. I will just actually swab some of that up. Okay, and then we can see if they're ready to go. Looks like they are. So I can hold that and then just slide that one off onto there. And then position it with the tweezers where it's supposed to go. And then I'll get the other one on so I can get them both level and square before. And this is what I did in the end with the airscale decal. I was having some trouble. I just used the tweezers and it seemed to move it absolutely fine. So just going to check my instructions here because it says see step 4 on page 6. I wonder if they're supposed to go on the back of that bulkhead. Step 4. It just says refer to the okay, so we can just dab them with a cotton bud and that should get them locked into position. There we go, that's them on. Like so. That's that. Now let's have a look at these. Back to the airscale decals. I'm going to cut that number off. I always cut the numbers off on my decals because they tend to, they don't have any backing on them, so they tend to just float off. And if they end up underneath one or sticking out the side of something, they're a proper pain. So they're going to go on here. I'm going to use them on the Airfix part. I'm not going to use the Airfix decals. If they don't fit, I'll have to put them on there. But I'm sure they will, because the one thing about the airscale decals, they pull down over contours and stuff. Absolutely beautiful. No hobby boss here. So that's gone like that. They're not ready to go yet. Okay, nearly there. So I'm just going to put some more set on here. And slide that. Oh dear, I've grabbed that one. Slide that. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's really too warm to be doing this, guys. The micro set is drying out before I can get anything on there. So that's just going to sit like that. And what I'm going to do is let the set and sole do its thing and pull it down, because it's got some edges to go over and stuff. So I'll put a drop more set on the top of that one. And I'll put some more on this side. Notice I'm putting too much on because it just dries out straight away. And in good old fashion, it's decided it wants to stick to my finger rather than the model. There we go. And you may ask why I'm leaving this on the sprue. It's purely for painting. I'll give that a quick dab with the bud just to dry it out. And then whoopsie daisy. When you want them to move, you can't shift them. When you don't want them to move, they float away. There we go. Just a couple of corrections, guys. Well, one correction. I actually said that this decal here, number 4, wasn't included in the airscale set. It is. It's there. It's number 8 and it's shown there. Okay, so I thought it was. I was looking for it up here, but it wasn't there. So it's there. So we have got that one. The other thing I found is the best way to use these decals. I've never done this before, but I thought I'd give it a go. if you actually take them, I'm just trying to see which way this one goes out. It's going to go that way. So basically, if you just take them and move them off the sheet and grab them with a pair of tweezers, you can then place it over the model, position it where you want it, and let it go. Just like that. Which is a lot easier than messing around, sliding it around on your finger, because, as I say, once it goes down, it's down. And that's the trouble. When you slide it on, you're kind of pushing it on with your finger. So I think I've just found the trick to make these work. Now I'm going to have to go off camera and position this because I want it perfect, and that's okay, it's good enough. You gotta remember, a lot of this stuff, as good as it looks, like this one here, when you actually look down in the cockpit, you're not really going to see it because you can't see in there. But if it wasn't there, it would just be a bare plain area, and then we'd all moan about it. So I'm not sure if they supply this one in the kit. Yeah, the thing is, what they do in the kit, with the kit decals, like this has got the black background. With the kit decals, they expect you to paint the black and then put the decal on. Whereas with this one, you just put it on the green. It's job done. Once this is matte coated, it looks all like one anyway. It looks fantastic. And as I said, these decals go down like no other. I mean, if you look at this one, I've done this one on the fuse board. And just look how that's gone down. You know, it's got micro set and micro sole on it. It's just unbelievable how well these things go. When that's dry, you won't believe your eyes how well that pulls down. And I've also got this one here now, which is this is number 20, and this one is going to go above where I've just put that other one. So I'm going to put some micro set on there, and then just grab this one in the tweezers and just place it in there. And then you can move it around because it hasn't had anything pushing it down. And there we go, that's down. Quick dab with the cotton bud. Oops, drop the cotton bud. Give this one another dab. You can see already how that's going down into that recessed area there. And don't worry, where I've got all these, just put some micro sole on them. Another dab on these just to make sure they've gone down. And yeah, once they're down, they are down, and they are wonderful. Okay, right, back to correcting myself again. I said that these two decals aren't included in the set. Well, actually they are, and they're decals number 28 and 27. The Airfix ones are 20 and 21, and with this one, you've got two of the 28s, which are the two of the red squares, and then the 27 is like a data plaque, and they go along these rails here. The plaque goes just forward of the red square on the right side, on the left side, port side, as you can see here. Decal number 21 on the Airfix kit. So, yeah, the parts are in there. So, and I thought they weren't. Unfortunately, one part that is missing in this set is there's a decal on here, which says cabin or something, I think, and it's a red decal, and it's for the moving of the canopy fore and aft. So what did I do? I went to my decals box and I got out the Airscale cockpit placards from World War II 24 scale and selected. You can see here's the decal sheet here, and I haven't used them before. And down here we've got some red squares and stuff with some warnings, emergency exits, and just some generic, you know, blobs and bits and pieces. So that was really handy for that, and there it is there. So I'm now going to get that and put it on my canopy control handle thing. If this one wants to come off the backing paper, that is. Come here, right, got that. And then I'm just going to get it wet and place it on here. I let it go, which I shouldn't have done. So now on camera I've made a complete mess of things. So I can get it on a brush and just lay that down like that. And then just position it like that. I don't think Airfix give you the decal either, which is probably why, to be honest, which is probably why Peter at Airscale missed it. But I don't think there's much shame in missing one, do you? So there we go, that's that one in place. You can't even really see it when it's in there anyway, but I had the decals here, so I thought I'd use it. The other thing is, this is number 30, and I wet it to put it on, and that goes on this box here, and then I realised this box here has to be painted black. And you can see, remember I was talking about how these pull down. See on there now how that's pulling down. It's lovely. Right, I've done quite a lot of camera here. Basically, because a lot of it is very small and fine, I need to use through my magnifier, because I do want this to be nice. And I know I want to make videos for you guys, but I don't want to hand up with substandard models because my eyesight is poor. So I have to do a lot of stuff off camera, I'm afraid, when it comes to this fine detail work. The building stuff and the modifications and all the resin and stuff is no problem. So let's just start from the left of the bench and move right. So here's the right hand side, or left hand side of the cockpit, and as you can see, we've got all the decals on there now. I've painted the emergency bits, knobs and stuff, and surround around that one black. Let me find a pointer. Let's use this. That decal there is not in the Airfix kit or in the airscale set. So once again, I've used the airscale cockpit placard set, and that's basically saying tail wheel up, tail wheel down, locked, and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I did that. I'm going to go through the rest of my references, and anywhere there is another decal missing, I'm going to use that set, because you can see it's got a lot of different shapes and sizes on there. And I'm going to use that set to basically really sort of make this thing pop. So there we go, that's all done. Unusually, I can't find any pictures with this on it, so I don't know if that's like a lever for the drop tank or something, but I can't find any pictures without it, so I'm not sure if that's supposed to be black or green or whatever. Airfix say green, but Airfix have got a few things wrong, as we all know. The oxygen bottle, or whatever people think it is, that goes on here behind the seat, they tell you to paint it red because they think it's a fire extinguisher. It's actually not. It's an air canister. It may even be a hydraulic canister, I don't know, but it's for emergency undercarriage lowering, so that's what that's for. It's supposed to be black. So we've got our little decals on there, as you can see. You saw those go on earlier. This little center console, I've sanded off the detail on the top there, that's why you can see the grey. There's a photo etched gauge which goes on, I'll show you in a second. And then I've done the cover there is red. This is for the rocket controls, and I noticed these little white knobs here have got little red ends on them. There's a decal in the airscale set that gives you the black background, so I'm going to use that, I think, rather than paint, and then use the tiny. And then you can see on here the Airfix decals they give you are absolutely tiny. There's two there, two decals. So yeah, incredibly small. They've got to be painted red. I'm going to paint those after they're glued in. I've done in behind there black just to give it a bit of depth, and then that's going to sit sort of in the cockpit in there, so it's going to look quite nice. It's nice that it's got these bits of red and stuff because it sort of livens it all up. What you can see here are these black boxes. These are all the radios that sit in the back of the fuselage here on these frames. I've obviously masked and painted that frame because the bottom of the radio you'll see up through, and the radio, I believe, black. It may be silver, but I'm doing a black, and I'm probably going to add some cabling and piping and stuff in there just to make it look a bit, more lively. And the other thing I'm considering, I found a photograph. Basically, it looks like someone's got a camera and they're stood up in this hatch and they're taking a picture like down there, and there are loads of cables running down, control cables. So I may just get some stretch sprue and put them in, see if I can find some silver sprue, stretch it, just stick them in, not paint them or anything. So we'll see how we go with that. Obviously we've got these bulkheads to go in. This panel here is like a little dream. It's beautiful. Got the airscale decals all over it. I've got the covers there for the switches and painted in red. Gone around that gauge there with black because it had some green showing through. I'll have to do the same in those two areas there. If you remember, we cut knobs off the plastic panel. They're going to get glued back on now with a drop of I don't know, Tamiya clear or something, and then we'll have to paint them in as well. There's knobs that go on all over this, so it's going to be quite lumpy and bumpy when it's all said and done. And then we'll give it all a dry brush, and you can see that with the micro satin sole, you can see how beautifully that decal on the fuse panel has pulled down over those fuses. It's really, really nice. And then when you actually stick it in the fuselage like so, you can see it looks pretty stunning. But it's a shame because when you look at it on that angle, you're not really going to see much at all when you look down in there. But yeah, it's very, very nice. I mean, when you look at it in the cockpit like this, you know, it's going to be sort of sat in there like that. It's really, really nice. It's all gloss at the moment. Obviously, it's going to all get matted down and washed and chipped and God knows what. So yeah, looking really, really great, and really thoroughly enjoying this now. I must be honest, my mojo went a bit with it. I was kind of fighting doing this because it's just so small and finicky. I think it's probably because it's been so hot as well. Now the instrument panels are all now sprayed in black with a gloss a satin coat on them, and you can see I've gone around the edges, so you can see that now that panel looks like one panel rather than a load of laminated pieces, which it actually is. So, and obviously I'm not using this. I've got this lever here which goes in the instrument panel. That's going to go into that slot in there. So yeah, all good. It's all going to be looking good when it's all together. So I'll call that a day for this segment, not this video, just this segment. Oh, I forgot to show you this as well. Doesn't that look lovely? Those airscale decals on there, and the scratch built levers and that on there. Looks really, really nice. I'm really chuffed with it anyway. So I think that's going to look great because it's in quite a prominent position. It goes on this, you can see that lug there, that shape, that sort of triangular shaped thing there. It sits on there, so it's quite prominent when you look in. So I thought I'd make a bit of a fuss of that. Don't know if I'll go to that much trouble on the other one, but we'll see on the FEA one. And there we go. And please don't ask me to make a resin mould of that. I won't be able to do it. So yeah, that's it for this segment, not this video. I'll do some more on tomorrow. It's Saturday now, and it is now 6:15. I've been on this hours. Yeah, I'll get back on this tomorrow. Do some more work on it. I need to get build a long video out for you as well, don't I, guys? So I'll see you all tomorrow. Okay, we're back. This is the next day now. This is actually Sunday, and you can see what I've done here. If we can get it to focus, is the knobs that I cut off originally. If you remember, I've now glued them back on with a drop of Tamiya clear varnish, and hopefully that'll just dry down and hold them in place, and then I can get some paint on them. And then we'll get the little toggle switches in, made out of wire. I'm not quite sure what diameter I'm going to use yet. I'll have a look, and then it's going to be a coat of varnish and some matte coating, I think, and some washing. In the break, while I was waiting for things to dry, I fitted the control levers there into the side, so that side of the cockpit's looking very nice now. And also I went and painted the ribs in the back in a chromate yellow. Thinking about it, I don't see how they would have got up in there and painted that. So as someone suggested before, it's probably a yellow frame, and then it was skinned, and the skins were painted blue before they were put on. So I thought I'd just do that. It just adds a bit of interest when you look up in there. But yeah, on the whole, I'm really pleased with how it's coming out. On the centre console, I've actually glued that gauge on, and then I've given the whole thing a clear coat because I've realised from my references I need to mask the decals and everything off. The surround on that gauge was actually green, so I'm going to go around there with some Mr. Servicer, get rid of the seam, don't make it look like one, and then I'll get some green paint on there. Obviously, mask the gauge off first again. So yeah, on the whole, all coming together really, really nicely. Looking good, I think. Right, so moving on now, done some little toggle switches on here, as you can see, with some 0.3 wire. See them on there. So they're looking lovely. Still waiting for that to go off so I can give it another gloss coat. I think I'll put the instrument panel on now, and the way I'm going to do that, you have these two small get that off. You have these two small divots in there, and you have two small raised areas on the back of the actual panel itself, and they actually locate. Now if you want to use super glue, as I do, then obviously your time to position is going to be very restricted. So what I've done is I've put a couple of drills in the instrument panel, and then these will slide over, okay, and they stay like that, and that allows me to get some super glue, put it in the back area here, in those two divots in there, and then I can just slide the instrument panel down, give it a nudge, and there it is, it's there. Job done. And you can see there the difference in the satin and the matte black. If you look there, you can see it's a slightly different shade. It just adds a bit of interest, and that's what it is. It's like I keep saying, it's the use the model as the canvas and just put some artistic talent into it, and you know, sometimes perhaps stretch the accuracy a little bit, but yeah, it's good fun. It's just, that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's having some fun. So that's glued on there now. I'm not going to put any of this other stuff on yet for fear of it getting knocked off. And I've also got to put that lever in that hole there as well. Right then guys, so it's wash time, and I've done this side now, and all I'm trying to do is just pick up on the edges. I don't want to go mad. It's not like a I'm going to, you know, really go to town on it. This one's going to be fairly lightly weathered. The FAA one will be beaten up. So yeah, this what I'm doing here is, all I want to do is just add a bit of a tonal effect to it. So I've glued this in now, and I've just given it a wash. I've basically used a very old enamel wash for NATO camera vehicles. Oh my god, I'm using it on interior green. I knew I was doing something wrong. Oh, I'm going to have to go and get the black wash for interior green now, aren't I? Oh well, I'll carry on using this anyway. I'll risk it and see if it's okay. So all I've done is put the wash on, and then with a brush, a large brush, dampened with enamel thinner, so just dip it in the thinners, and then just, this is actually odorless thinners, and then I can just basically brush away where the wash was and leave as much as I want behind, and it kind of gives it, rather than having that defined wash in the corner look, what it does, it just sort of just stains the surface a bit. So I'll show you how I do it now on this side. Haven't touched this side at all yet. You know, it's been pre-shaded, then the interior green, then we've got the clear on there. So that's also another thing. If you don't have a clear varnish, you won't get the same effect, I feel. So I'm just going to put some wash in the areas where I want it to go. As you can see, it's quite dense, this wash. I think it could probably do with thinning down a bit, to be honest, but for these purposes it's absolutely fine. So just brush it on, brush it all over. Need to be a little bit careful around those levers, because they've got very small areas where I glued in. I sort of cut slots, if you remember. I'll just get some down round here. But at the end of the day, if anything gets broken off, there's always super glue. So there we go. So that's that all washed. Let's just put that to one side. And then I'm going to use this brush just to brush it out a bit. Spread it all around, because as I say, what I'm trying to do is, it's not so much wash it, it's just stain the area and make it look kind of just dirtied up a bit. I still don't know what colour that handle's supposed to be. That one there, I don't even know what it's for. I'm sure within minutes of this video being launched, somebody will comment and tell me all about it, which I thank you for very much. There do seem to be quite a few people out there who know a lot about this plane, but it seems that when it comes to colours, there's a hell of a difference of opinion everywhere you go. Right, so I've done that now, so that's all spread about, and it'll obviously be concentrated into the corners because that's what it's designed to do. But I actually want a kind of a washed out look, if you like. There you go. You see, now that basically just leaves a stain behind. You clean the brush off and the thinners. And I'm using low odorless thinners, mate. Do not use turpentine. I wouldn't chance doing this with enamel thinners either, because they're fairly hot and they can start to attack the plastic and particularly attack your glue joints. So use odorless thinners. You can use lighter fuel, which I learnt from Dutch modelling a while ago, and it doesn't attack the plastic at all. It's really good for tank tracks, but the one downside to it when you're doing something like this is it dries very, very fast. And the beauty of this is you've got literally hours to work with it. There we go. Let's get some of the wash out of these areas. And there you are. You can see the kind of effect we're after, and that will dry to leave a stained, highlighted and basically used looking cockpit. And then next we're going to do some chipping. We'll do some dry brushing, do some highlighting. You see this colour here, got the same on this side here. I've done it on the canopy retraction. That is actually AK US interior yellow green. Now if that's interior green for a US aircraft, yeah, sorry AK, it's not a real colour, is it? It may be zinc chromate green because that shade can vary a lot, but it's not interior green. That's more like the British grey green, isn't it? But I'm going to use it in a few areas just to highlight things. Like I might put some around the edges of these panels here and just make them pop. And there we go. And if you do this and you don't like it, you can just get a wet towel or a wet cotton bud and just go over it and get it all out. And there we go, guys. So I'll do the same now to the cockpit floor and the center console and everything, so they all look the same. Yeah, you can see the effect you get. And what I want to do now is finish off this video. Yes, there is going to be a part 8E. In part 8E we will finish the cockpit, but I don't want these videos going on too long because I know you guys get bored. But you can see here on this side now that's all sort of dried off a bit matte, still not totally dry, but you can see on here now we've got the toggle switches in place. They look lovely, and I put a blob of silver paint on them just to round the ends off so they don't look like a piece of cut metal. Yeah, I've still got mask on the gauges and obviously ready for the flat coats and the washes and everything. I don't want them getting attacked. So there we go. You can see that's the effect we get with the wash by removing most of it, just leaving that sort of, I don't know, that sort of stained look behind. Okay, and there's the other side. And when we actually look at it, you can see how good it's all going to look. Airfix have done a superb job with this kit, I must say. You know, a little bit of that airscale extra set is like £19 or something, $18.95 is it? You know, it's an absolute bargain, and that's all I've added to this, and a few bits of wire and a bit of time. There we go. That's how it's all going to look when it's all closed up. You can see it looks very nice. As I say, all I've done here is added the airscale set, a few bits of wire, I've added a couple of extra decals, which is nothing much, some masking tape around these fuel inlet hoses. That's it. That's basically how the kit is. So, you know, in fact, looking at that, all that's on there is that airscale top panel and these bits of wire. That's it. The rest of it is just the kit. So, thank you, Airfix. You've done us proud. And this side you can see, with the throttle levers and everything that I scratch made, you can see that this side is looking a bit better than standard out the box. This here, I painted this silver just to add some colour and interest into the cockpit. But if you want to see that side with the cockpit in, we can just stick it in like that loosely. There we go. I don't want to risk breaking off those two silver shafts that I just pointed out, so I won't clip them in. But there you go. You can see now how the cockpit looks with on that side. So yeah, all coming on nicely. So I need to give this cockpit floor a wash now and do the same as I've done on the sides. Thanks for watching this one, guys. I'm sorry it's been a bit drawn out, and I've basically been on this for probably 6 or 7 hours making this video, which I think is probably what, 45 minutes long. So thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Part 8E, I think it'll be 8E, I think this is 8D. We will finish the cockpit and we will get it glued in, okay, I promise. But at the moment I noticed I've got I still have marks on my seat pan, so I've put some Mr. Surfacer in there. In fact, I flooded it, letting that settle now, and then I'll give that a polish up. I'm not sure if I want to use this dingy thing. I don't think it looks in fitting with the rest of the cockpit. We've got the HGW seat belts made, so they're ready to go in, and the seat's going to have to get painted and washed and everything the same as this, and chipped and all that. So we'll see you back for part 8D and 8E, sorry, 8E, not 8E, as we say in Bristol. And I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.